This One's Wife. Understanding the businesswoman. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As you know, part 2 of season 1 has appeared. 8 episodes of banality provided by This One's Wife. I tolerated watching the first episode to see if anything had altered from the first half of season 1. It had not. And I also tolerated a second episode to look at the interplay between two narcissists. After all, narcissism is what I talk about. Beyond that, I am not going to endure any more episodes of that utter dross, and instead, I'll pick up the relevant morsels from the mainstream media. Now, you would have thought that there would be some promotional heft that would have come along with the appearance of part 2 of season 1. Netflix hasn't really bothered. This One's Wife done a little bit of promotion herself on her Instagram, as you would expect. But there hasn't been any appearance, for instance, on chat shows. Ordinarily, when a new series comes out, or when there's a book, or when there's a new film, the relevant author or stars or writers, whoever it might be, get out there and they promote it. They go on chat shows. They do interviews that appear in the press. They do interactions with the public where they talk about what's going on. They do Q&A sessions. But we've had none of that from This One's Wife. On the one hand, perhaps that's her arrogance, whereby she doesn't believe that she needs to do it because she's so important that everybody's going to watch it. Or could it well be that the usual places that would host such a discussion of her awful lifestyle series just aren't interested? Oprah isn't extending any kind of offer to interview her, to allow her to talk about it. The usual circuit of individuals that might invite her on have decided not to extend an invitation to her, and therefore she's not had a platform. However, where she has turned up is in a YouTube interview with Bloomberg Originals and their 4.75 million subscribers. The video is described as This One's Wife, the Duchess of Sussex, on life and business beyond the royal spotlight. And at the point of me talking to you, it's had 6,372 views, and the video's been around for about 3-4 hours, I think. Accordingly, for an individual that is supposedly internationally infamous, on a platform that's fairly sizable, with 4.75 million subscribers, that number of views is pretty piss poor, which tells you that most people who probably subscribe to Bloomberg Originals wants to actually hear from proper business people, people who've actually made a decent fist. For instance, the circuit with Emily Chang, which is what's been hosted on Bloomberg Originals, she's spoken to the lawyer behind Elon Musk, Jay-Z, and Megan Thee Stallion, and spoken to Melinda Gates, has spoken to Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer about Microsoft, has spoken to Mark Zuckerberg on life, history, and being human, why Ari Emanuel is betting big on UFC and WWE, what YouTube CEO really thinks about YouTube. So some fairly sizable hitters there, and you'd imagine that's what people are drawn to want to watch. And then somehow This One's Wife turns up on the platform, a woman who runs a Potemkin business. And entertainingly, the start of the video gives us a brief introduction to who she is, the royalty, the fact she's got a lifestyle brand, that she was in Suits, etc., and then tells us that the purpose of the interview is to get to know her in relation to being a businesswoman. The definition of businesswoman must have changed. And it kicks off. It is a 46-minute interview, and I'm not proposing to go through every aspect of it, because not only do I not want to give her the watch time, but also I'm not that interested, apart from picking out the relevant parts to do with her narcissism. And so I've gone straight to the transcript rather than necessarily sitting and watching it all the way through. And entertainingly, the interviewer, Emily Chang, explains that they start off with a walkthrough at a bookstore, which is actually one of the locations in her Netflix series. And Chang explains, we talked big decisions for her business. And then it cuts to This One's Wife, who states, and suddenly the conversation goes from a few thousand jars and lids to we need to do a purchase order of 1 million. 1 million. Are you telling me that this one's wife ordered 1,000 jars and lids for the Soylent Red, for the red sludge? That gunk that was produced, she had 1 million jars of it. I simply do not believe that. You'll recall that she said that she had sold out of it, and there is no way that she has sold 1 million of those jars. Why? 1, there aren't enough people interested in it. 2, it's not that good enough a product. 3, if she'd sold 1 million, she'd have told us that she'd sold 1 million. As I have commented before, she talks about selling out, but never provides any actual figures. And it would appear to be the case that here we have her sat down talking to somebody who is probably a serious journalist, claiming that a purchase order was put in for 1 million jars and lids. She's sitting eating a smash burger, and the question that's posed to her, the big question is, can this one's wife have a second act as an entrepreneur and a tastemaker? Can she succeed on her own terms? And will a highly sceptical world even let her? One question's posed. If you could choose one thing for people to know the truth about you, what would that one thing be? The one thing. Oh, gosh, she replies. What's the one thing? Well, we don't get the answer to that because it cuts away to Santa Barbara, where this one's wife is waiting at the godmother's bookstore. You'll remember she turned up for the opening of that some time ago, and I dissected that in parts passim. And she opens the door as if she owns it, although she does state that it's my friend's place, and says they did a spectacular job with it. This is their wall of godmothers who lit the way. I love it. Yeah, and you'll love the space in here. I mean, they have such a beautiful curation of fantastic books. And the kids section upstairs is amazing. The interviewer wanted to know something about this one's wife's reading habits and asked her if she enjoys thrillers or trashy romance. And she responds with, well, I spend so much time reading children's books, and you have 4 kids. Yes, I do. I do, says the interviewer. So, you know, continues this one's wife, our kids are 4 and 6. So at the end of the night, I do that. And then I haven't really gotten into a book in a long time. I know it's hard. I also read a lot of books, kids with parenting books. These books, parenting self-help. Yeah. And my late night indulgence now is just a lot of Duolingo. Do you ever do that? What are you Duolingoing? I'm Duolingoing French. I'm committed to relearning it. Okay, so this one's wife doesn't read books. She hasn't got the time because she's too busy reading to the littles, although whether that actually takes place or not could well be just facade management on the part of her. And we're back to her being a talented linguist, a cunning linguist. You recall that she purported to be able to speak Spanish and failed miserably, and now we're back to her saying that she can actually speak some French and that she's learning in respect of it. That she wants to, of course, in this interview, portray herself in a particular way, a particular facade for the purposes of asserting that she is this talented, multilingual, wonderful mother, all part of trying to portray a particular image. And the interviewer points out that she saw that this one's wife was at the opening of this place with Oprah, and how this one's wife spoke about how bookstores felt like a safe space. And so she asks this one's wife, tell me about that. And her response is, you know, I think bookstores, you can find your story there. You can find some version of your story or what feels true to you in it. And within all those pages, it's just such a great space for discovery. And I think that makes people feel safe. So a nice dose of word salad coming from this one's wife, early on in this interview as she strolls through the bookstore with Emily Chang. The two of them move outside to have a latte. This one's wife is seen greeting the owner of the little coffee store that's situated in the grounds of the bookstore. And the interviewer asks her about why she chose Monty Shit Show. And she explained, well, we moved here 5 years ago, and once again you're treated to this breathless vocal fry that she engages in, as if you'd asked her to explain something that was really earth-shattering and groundbreaking, when all you're being asked is, why did you move here? You get the ridiculousness of this one's wife as she closes her eyes and contemplates what's going on as if it's something so special. And she explains, oh, we're just so happy because we can take our kids to school and have a really supported, sweet life running around and doing the things that I think everyone maybe has a part of your day to day. But if you don't think about what life would be like without those moments, right? Doesn't even make sense, does it? Listen again to the word salad that she comes out with. Well, we moved here 5 years ago. Oh, we're just so happy because we can take our kids to school and have a really supported, sweet life, running around and doing the things that I think everyone maybe has part of your day to day. But if you don't think about what life would be like without those moments, right? It's easy to take them for granted, so I love it. We have such a beautiful, embracing community. Yeah, and being really able to create and dream here. Yeah, all right. Wow. Bland. Word salad. And yet they give, once again, a platform to this woman to allow her to talk about business. But so far, no business insight. It's meant to be a serious channel, and you're just getting the usual flannel from this one's wife. Now, before it gets too long, I'm going to park this video, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through the other sections of it to see, do we get any actual nuggets of wisdom from this one's wife? Or is it just more of the same? It certainly tees it up that way. But I thought it would be interesting to flag with you the fact that we haven't got the sort of chat show circuit that she's gone on, but she has gone on the circuit with a YouTube video which hasn't got particularly many views. Before I depart, a quick dive into the comments section. There's a couple of hundred, and it's interesting, actually, because somebody writes, lovely interview, off to work. Somebody else, the lady's smart, articulate and knowledgeable. She knows her stuff. I'm particularly impressed by her resilience. Another person wrote, that heavy emphasis on that title. British titles have no meaning in the US. Someone else asks, seriously? Someone states, I absolutely love her and so appreciate the way she owns her voice, intelligence and ambition. Another, love this interview. Another, love this interview. This one's wife, you are so a real person and who seems a lot of fun. She's so smart and well-spoken. Great interview. Great interview. I love you, this one's wife. This woman is Delulu Pro Max. She's still pulling out that dishwashing story. She's still talking about the little time she spent in the royal family, still clinging to the title. The whole podcast is an ad for Godmother's shop for proving herself to the critics, for taking another dig at the royal family, and so on. No, not about the ad again when she was 11 years old, so that would look like that resurfaces later on. So it does seem to be an interesting mix of favourable comments from individuals and others that are criticising her. Not quite the tsunami of criticism that occurred with the trailer for With Love Meghan a few weeks ago. Somebody else has put, this is a joke, isn't it? And then somebody else has written, can't wait for the comment section to go full 180. So it starts off with quite a few favourable comments, but I suspect as time goes on that more people will infiltrate it and provide some counterbalance to what this one's wife is going on about. But there we are, the beginning of a fluffy interview where purportedly we're going to find out about this one's wife and her incisive business views. I don't think you necessarily need to hold your breath, but I'll report back in due course, having examined more about what she's got to say vis-a-vis her narcissism. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.